Welcome to Burlesk Custom Guitars. Guitars have been my passion for my entire life. Handcrafted by my hands to be played by yours. Each one I create is like no other. My name is James. Come along with me on this musical journey.
Hi, James.
Hello.
What are you up to?
I'm tearing apart a Jaguar for my really good friend Lawrence, and I'm going to fix a whole bunch of problems that it has. Electrical problems. Apparently the previous owner was a tinkerer, and Lawrence picked it up, and I'm going to fix it all because apparently nothing works with the switching and the volume pots and stuff. So I assume it's a wiring issue. Doesn't appear to be much wrong with the frets, but fret edges definitely need to be done. They're sprouting big time. Mm-hmm. You can actually see it on the camera. Wow.
Yeah, you really can.
Yeah, so that's got to be done, and then a little setup, and she should be good to go.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Will you be using any fretboard love on this guitar?
There will be some fretboard love in use, yes, indeed.
What?
Some fretboard love.
Quite complex.
This is a disaster. Whoever wired this with their soldering iron taken away.
Well, we all have our strengths and weaknesses.
You've got stuff like this going on. This is bad. Close to switches and stuff. And you got... this makes no sense at all. And an exposed wire connecting these two, which is your signal. And you've got a wire coming in off your switch. It's going directly to your output, but this is your volume control that's going directly to your output. So this wire should not be here at all. And these pots aren't even grounded to the circuit, so...
Well, what are you waiting for?
Patience.
But if you didn't have it...
I am going to have to tear this apart and redo it entirely. And possibly install a new pickup, because I think Lawrence wants it to be quiet. And this is a P90 with a humbucker, so it's very noisy regardless.
Mm-hmm.
But we shall see what I can do. I gotta take it apart and see what the noise levels are. For some reason I think because of this particularly wonderful wiring, that once I get it cleaned up it might be a little less noisy, but right now it sounds like a science experiment in Dr. Frankenstein's lab. Bzzz. Not the kind of buzz we like around here at Burlesk.
Hi, James.
Hello.
What are you working on?
I'm working on a Gibson SG for a good client of mine, Ben. And one of my biggest pet peeves over the past few years that they did at Gibson is, if you look inside here, they've installed, and what they've made is these PC board types tone control and volume control plates, and basically they're really impossible to work on. You can't unsolder anything off of this board without literally having to replace the board. I mean, I've taken these caps here and snipped them and replaced them, and then what I've done over here, as you can see, is I've had to basically leave the two little studs on that were sticking out of the board, and I've soldered my wire onto them, and I've installed a new pure tone 4-point input jack that's going to go right in there and fit nicely, and will be able to be replaced and what have you if need be in the future. But these are kind of silly. They tried these many moons ago in the 70s. The Japanese came up with it first, and the problem is you know, when you got to replace one component on this thing, you got to take the whole thing out to work on it. So it's just a, not with this particular one, because you can't get these units off of here, and I've tried, believe me. But they realized it was a bad idea back then. Anyway, they've come back with it again within the last, probably, I would say probably the last 7 or 8 years. I started seeing these around that time, and wasn't super impressed. I do have a lot of pros that get me to yank these out immediately. I have a lot of guys that as soon as they know this is in their guitar, they want it out. Because if you're on the road and you're a gigging musician and one of your controls goes down, this whole thing goes down. So, just something to be wary of with the newer Gibsons. It's not an inexpensive repair to replace this whole thing. So make sure you got a good tech that knows what he's doing.
Hi, James.
Good day.
What are you working on?
I'm working on a Telecaster Kit guitar for a client of mine
Oh, yeah.
who brought it in for me to wire it up and do all of the gizmos up. I've already extended the wiring on the one pickup here, and I've done the wiring for the input jack and the grounding of the bridge, and as well the grounding of the shielding paint.
Oh.
Yes, a lot of people don't realize this, but if you put shielding in your guitar, you have to ground it.
Right.
Yeah. So as you can see here, I've got 2 ground wires coming off of my input jack. One is going to go to my switches and my pots, but the other one is actually coming in here to the frame, or bodies, frame, sorry, the body. And then the one here is going up to the bridge, which will ground this guy when this touches here.
Right.
And so that when you touch the bridge, you are not going to be grounding out, etc., etc. So here's a little way to test everything's working cool. Now I'm going to go to the shielding paint. So that means we're all contact. Now I'm going to go to the input jack. So that's my wire coming in from the pots. That's my wire going from my ground on the input jack. So all the way through this whole circuit, I see he's missed a little spot here, so I'm going to have to fix that. See, look at that. So he just missed a little bit in here, so it's not fully contacting, and neither is it there. So this is kind of a really good example of how important it is to make that entire shielding complete and fluid all the way through the cavity if you want it to ground properly. So I got a couple of little touch-ups to do in here, and then this whole cavity will be completely shielded and grounded.
Great.
Yep.
So this is shielding paint?
Yes. Shielding paint contains particles of metal in it. It's very expensive stuff. And basically, if you paint your cavity with it, it becomes a little steel chassis. You can use the tape too, but I find the tape is actually kind of cumbersome and takes up a lot of bulky room.
Right.
It
would take up room, I can see.
It takes up a bit of room, but it's just so it's not as good as this. That's just my opinion. I mean, I'm one man, right? but I find this stuff way more effective and way easier to get where you want it to be.
Right.
And the reason you use shielding paint is with single coil pickups. You want to do it with single coil pickups because single coil pickups have the 60 cycle hum.
Right.
So that's why you do it. Humbuckers with single coil bodies, they're kind of maybe due for it as well. I see it in most guitars. Most companies just do it. It's a good practice to get into. But here I can even show you that paint's still wet. And we should be conductive all the way through now.
Oh yeah.
See?
Yeah, great.
That's what we want. We want it all the way through, from the ground on your sleeve, all the way through the cavity to the bridge. We know it's grounded now. We can continue.
Wonderful. I can hear something.
That's me touching open wiring, grounds and stuff and such. Yeah, it's all ready to go. It's all wired up. Had to extend some wires on the pickups just so I could work on it properly and work on it like this. Everything's grounded. Pickups are working, and so middle. Bridge. Tone circuit's working, and I installed a treble bleed circuit as well. Yeah, that means what a treble bleed circuit is when you turn your volume down, you don't lose your mids and treble like you do normally without it. It's really good for Telecasters because you're using a lot of volume changes and stuff on tellies. Oh, there's my phone. Yeah, so that's why I put them on there. Yeah, looks pretty good. As I explained in the other video, I am just reseating these frets. I'm doing all of them. I had about 4 loose frets on here from shrinkage, and I had done work on this guitar, as I said, last December, but I found a bunch of loose frets and lifting frets down here and in the relief area. So what I've done is gone along and treated the edges, and then I run some cyanoacrylate into them, and it literally sucks itself down into the fret slot, and then I clamp it off with my handy dandy fret seating device here. I've got a caul, or pardon me, this is called a fret caul, and then I also have an arbor press that I use for some stuff, but 99% of the time I'll use this because it's way more easy to get access to the neck. As you can see, I had to take the neck off of the PRS. This is how some PRS necks are set in. It's kind of cool. It goes behind the neck pickup. A lot of people don't realize that. Hence why they are able to get that super cool design and also such good access. So yeah, this is, as you can see, I've cleaned up or taped off the neck just in case any of my glue runs down. Just want to make sure I don't get any mess on here, and it keeps it clean. Got to do all of them. You can't just do the ones that are loose. And once I'm done all of them, I'm going to do a level, crown, and then dress them up again. Yeah. So this is a 1996 Dean Cadillac I've been working on that was brought to me. I think we've talked about this with the busted truss rod inside, and I've already replaced the fretboard. I've got a whole bunch of pictures you'll be able to see, and I've refretted it with 6150 stainless steel frets, and I'm just getting ready to refinish the back of the neck. This guitar has been through pure hell from what I understand. It was originally, the headstock was busted and repaired poorly, and you can see where that was done. But what happened after they repaired it is they just lambasted this thing with paint, and it was covered literally with like about 3 or 4 millimeters. I think it was polyester, to be honest with you, but it shouldn't have been. It should have been lacquer. Yesterday what I did was I painted over top of, what I did was I left some of the original finish on here. The original finish on here, not the stuff that was painted over top. You could see that it had ghosted from the stuff they painted over top. Unfortunately, I can't get rid of that because I want to keep this Dean decal, and it'll be gone in a few minutes. But my big thing was I wanted to get this clear coat on here to make sure it was indeed lacquer, and it is indeed lacquer, which makes me very happy. So now I can continue on. I've leveled this off. It's now sealed, and now I'm going to get my airbrush out and I'm going to paint all in around here and make this black and make it look as gorgeous as possible. Once I'm done that, I'm going to then start finishing the back of the neck and actually sealing the fretboard on like it properly should be. You can see here how thick finish is on it. I mean, people don't realize that's how thick finish is. Look at that. I mean, that's kind of a bad example, but look, right here, you can see there's a lot of finish on these guitars, and it's incredible when you really look at it, how much I got to build this up to kind of match that. I'm actually not going to build it up as much as it was because there's a ridiculous amount of paint to be on the guitar, and once I finish this, I purposely made the neck about a millimeter, or pardon me, the fretboard slightly larger to compensate for the loss of wood from me sanding it and getting it all back into shape. And now I'm going to get her all finished up and then put this sucker back together. 1996, one of 200.
Wow.
One of 200 guitars made. This is the full Korina body.
Okay.
Yeah, or the Terminalis superba is Korina word. That's the scientific word. I learned that yesterday.
Oh, cool.
Terminalis superba. So yeah, this is all Korina, and it's a one of 200 guitar. I actually bought a set of stamps so I can stamp in the original serial number right here, because that's where it was. So you'll be seeing me do that as well.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
That's a good touch.
Yeah.
Nice, thanks.
All right.